Brian B. Patrick and Katie Swales, with help from Eiley Yamamoto, Barb Carey, and Lisa Matthews. Our senior producer is Jacqueline Kirk, and our executive producer is Aaron Balser. I also want to shout out our audio techs and the rest of the CBC Books team for everything they do to make this show happen. I'm Matea Roach, and this is Bookends. You can tune in on Sundays and Wednesdays on CBC Radio, or follow the show on the podcast app of your choice. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Because when the book ends, the conversation begins.
This is CBC Radio 1, 88.5 FM in Montreal. Breaking news happens anywhere, anytime.
Police have warned the protesters repeatedly, get back.
CBC News brings the story to you as it happens.
Hundreds of wildfires are burning.
Be the first to know what's going on and what that means for you and for Canadians.
The situation has changed very quickly.
Helping make sense of the world when it matters most. Stay in the know. CBC News. The CBC News is next, and then it's Unreserved with Rosanna Deerchild.
Many will know him as the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. He was a lawyer, a judge, a senator, but he was also a dedicated family man. Today, a tribute to the late Murray Sinclair.
From CBC News, The World This Hour, I'm Martina Fitzgerald. It is a seismic moment for Syria and for the Middle East. Rebel forces have seized control of the capital, Damascus, ending the repressive 50-year rule of the al-Assad family. This was a scene in Damascus as fighters and civilians celebrated Assad's overthrow. It is a stunning development in a brutal and bloody civil war stretching almost 14 years. The streets are now much quieter, with the rebels declaring a curfew until just before dawn tomorrow. Assad is believed to have fled, but his whereabouts are unknown. Reports from Moscow quote a Kremlin source as saying Assad and his family have been given asylum in Russia. Images have surfaced of Syrians ransacking his vacant presidential palace in Damascus, some seen leaving carrying furniture and dishes. Justin Trudeau commented this past hour, saying a new chapter for Syria can begin, free of terrorism and suffering. The Prime Minister added that Canada is closely watching the transition, urging order, stability, and respect for human rights. And just minutes ago, U.S. President Joe Biden offered his reaction, saying in the end, neither Russia, Hezbollah, nor Iran could save the Assad regime.
At long last, the Assad regime is fallen. This regime brutalized and tortured and killed literally hundreds of thousands of innocent Syrians. The fall of the regime is a fundamental act of justice. The moment, a historic opportunity for long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their proud country. It's also a moment of risk and uncertainty.
Biden says the U.S. will work with its allies in Syria and the Middle East to manage that risk. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the future of Syria is up to Syrians to decide, adding Special Envoy Geir Pedersen will be working with them. Guterres is urging Syrians to remain calm and avoid violence during the transition. Donald Trump has given his first network TV interview since winning the U.S. election. Speaking with NBC's Meet the Press, the U.S. president-elect said during his 4 years in office, he will deport all illegal migrants. Trump also said he would consider pulling out of NATO, and he talked about border issues with Canada.
I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call.
Yeah.
He was at Mar-a-Lago, we were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly,
Trump said he would follow through on a campaign promise to levy tariffs on imports from America's biggest trading partners, Canada and Mexico. He said tariffs would make the U.S. richer. When asked if he could guarantee that his plan would not see American families pay more, Trump said he can't guarantee anything. With the holidays just ahead, there are more parcels than usual being dropped at front doors. Police in St. John say this time of year they see an uptick in reports of packages stolen after delivery. Constable James Cadigan has these tips for keeping deliveries safe.
The apps that come with a lot of doorbell cameras will notify you. You'll get a notification on your phone. So if you got a way to get home or have somebody stop by and grab your package so that it's not sitting there for too long. If you're going to be at work in the daytime when most of these packages are being delivered, it's an idea, of course, to have delivered to your workplace or someplace that, somebody will be, whether it's a family member or a neighbor.
Cadigan says thieves are not just hoping to spot opportunities. They follow delivery vans with the intention of stealing packages. And that is your world this hour. For CBC News, I'm Martina Fitzgerald.
Here's your weather forecast for Quebec and Montreal, Laval. A 60% chance of rain showers or flurries this afternoon. Wind gusting to 40 and a high of 2 degrees. Clearing this evening and a low of -9. The townships, about 2 to 4 centimeters of snow today and a high of 1. A chance of flurries this evening, clearing before morning and a low of -14. Quebec City today, about 5 centimeters of snow. Wind gusting to 40, a high of -4. Wind chill -11 this afternoon, a low of -16 overnight.
So I started writing her letters. I wrote it every day. Then after a while, they actually became stories about our interchanges where she would come and visit me, and then I would record afterwards or write down afterwards what it was that we had done, the things we had shared. And I used to call them letters to my Sarah.
One of the last gifts left to us by the late Honorable Justice Murray Sinclair is his memoir. And it was the love for his granddaughter that made it possible.
When my granddaughter, Marisha and Vance, were born, just before that, about a year before that, I had suffered a minor stroke. And I remember thinking that I may not be around when she grows up. I may not be around to give her the advice that Moshe needs to give to his granddaughter. She may have questions that only I can answer. She doesn't know about my family. She doesn't know about my grandmother, my grandfather. And so I thought, I'm going to start writing things down for her.
Those letters would go on to encapsulate 4 questions. Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? Who am I?
I realized this book is a gift to me, but also a gift to Canada, not just Indigenous peoples, but to non-Indigenous peoples too, for us to learn. It's really something that he gave me, and then now it's to the nation.
Danse, Ani, Boujou. Hello and welcome. This is Unreserved. I'm Rosanna Deerchild. The late Honorable Justice Murray Sinclair had many roles. To Sarah Fontaine Sinclair, he was a musha, a storyteller, a teacher, and someone who dressed up as Shrek at Halloween.
He showed us, especially the younger people in our family, how to be really beautiful and powerful leaders. He always taught us that through a lot of humor.
Sarah guides us in a tribute to one of the most significant Indigenous leaders of our time, through the eyes of a granddaughter. Plus, Stephanie Scott worked alongside Murray during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
For those that have seen him as this iconic figure in Canada and the world, he's also very human. And although he had his traditions and support, there were tears.
And the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry was a moment of hard truth for Murray and for Manitoba. Chief Justice Glenn Doyle says it set into motion this country's path to reconciliation.
First of all, if there wasn't Murray Sinclair, there might not have been an AJI. If there wasn't an AJI, there might not have been a CRC. And there wasn't a TRC that might not have been an inquiry into missing murdered women and girls.
The Honorable Justice Murray Sinclair passed on November 4th of this year at the age of 73. Today, we remember and honor the legacy of Mazina Gizakiban.
He was just a kid, like me, trying to check the car doors to see if they were unlocked or robbing someone.
That's Murray Sinclair, or Mazina Gizakiban, reading from his memoir, Who We Are, 4 Questions for a Life and a Nation. One day, he was almost robbed by a kid who a few weeks earlier had stood in his courtroom. He had been arrested after running away from his foster home.
I didn't expect to see him again, but there he was.
It was 1988. Murray was just appointed Associate Chief Judge of the Manitoba Provincial Court, only the second Indigenous person to be appointed to the bench in Canada, and the first in Manitoba. In his memoir, Murray writes that the would-be robber ended up in a hotel room. Alone and hungry, the boy waited for his social worker to drop off some money for food. It was almost late, so he went looking for money elsewhere. He found Murray.
Ask me to more of it. I said, what? Ask me to lend you $10, I repeated. I can't pay you back. Don't worry about that. Ask me. Can I borrow $10? I dug in my pocket and took out what I had. Here's 40. How will I pay you back? Don't worry about it. Just promise me you'll try to stay out of trouble.
Murray asked the young man for one more thing: go back to school. Education got us into this mess, and education will get us out of it. It was one of Murray's most well-known sayings. He fiercely believed that education was the key for Indigenous people to change their lives, and for non-Indigenous people to change their minds. But he recognized that for those who suffered trauma in residential schools, education was a challenge. And so was educating Canada about those difficult truths. Nonetheless, Murray dedicated his life to that challenge for future generations and for a scared kid who tried to rob him.
I hope that young man made it. He deserved to. And if he did, I am glad I had a small hand in it. I hope he knows that the gift he gave me was a beautiful one, because that young man could have also been me.
Murray Sinclair shared many such stories in his memoir, stories that offer lessons that started out as letters to his granddaughter, Sarah Fontaine Sinclair. Now a music student at the University of Ottawa, Sarah grew up listening to her Musha tell her stories about life, ceremony, and family. But she also remembers a Musha who loved rock and roll, motorcycles, and bad dad jokes. Sarah, welcome to Unreserved.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. It's an honor. And please let me just start by extending our entire team's condolences for your loss.
Thank you.
Just know that all of Indian country is there with you, sharing in your grief.
Thank you.
Now, never have I ever started an interview this way, but I understand your Muslim loves sharing knock-knock jokes.
Yes. I was looking through some of our texts the other day, and almost all of our conversations either had to do with him teasing me about music or him sending me knock-knock jokes. It was like a daily thing that he would send me.
Can you share your best worst one?
Yes, I have some on my phone. He loved elephant ones. Those were his favorite because he loved elephants so much. And one of my favorites was, where does an elephant keep his spare tire?
Where?
In their trunk.
Ah, groaner.
I know.
Those are really good dad jokes.
Yeah.
How did this routine of sending knock-knock jokes and parable dad jokes